Network. Workers at ports from Maine to Texas are set to strike in what could be the most disruptive walkout to the U.S. economy in decades. The International Longshoremen's Association says they'll walk out this week unless there's a new contract. The man authorities say was lying in wait in hopes of assassinating former President Trump on a golf course in Florida is expected to be arraigned today. Ryan Ruth was arrested earlier this month after a Secret Service agent reportedly spotted him hiding in the bushes with a rifle at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. Vice President Harris says she'll reform America's border security if elected. Harris spoke Friday afternoon while inspecting the border at Douglas, Arizona, her first visit since becoming a presidential candidate. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Celebrating hardworking teachers of New Orleans Public Schools is what we do best. Join New Schools for New Orleans, Allstate, Sugar Bowl, and Integer New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 3rd annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards Gala. If you want to check out the awardees and the schools where they teach at, please visit noeta, noeta.org. You can also purchase tickets to the gala via the website too. Let's send these teachers some love for all the hard work they do with our students.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Wake up, New Orleans. Wake up. Wake up. OT, Dr. Wise, the early bird. Oh, well, you know what? It's a good day anyway. I know we know the Saints lost. And it's not that they lost.
It's how they lost.
And who they lost.
And how they lost. Come on, now that boy kicked almost a 60-yarder. Really?
But
58 yards.
I predicted. I knew it was going to happen. When they had time on the clock.
Mm-hmm. They left too much time on the clock.
All I'm going to tell you, I called it. And I'm not saying I'm Negro Damas, right? But I'm saying I called it.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm telling my friends, I was with two of my partners, right? They came by the house to watch the game. I said, I hope they run the clock down to where Atlanta doesn't have enough time. I said, because if they do, I'm telling you, I said that they're going to get a pass interference and they're going to kick a field goal.
But that was the whole reason why he threw the ball up.
And that's what happened.
Because he was counting on the PI.
Absolutely.
You didn't even have to touch him. Just play defense. Like, let's be real here. Was the ball even catchable before you grabbed the boy's shoulder and spent him around for the pass interference?
And so
that's what they needed to get down the field. And we gave it to them.
The bad part about it is,
what's the bad part, OT?
Hold on, let me go to where my people at.
You don't lose to Atlanta.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So, how was that gumbo? Right. So I'm saying the birds will taste good in the Saints gumbo. So what my people text me back, how was that gumbo?
Listen, even more important than the Saints Atlanta game is this Edna St. game that's coming up this weekend.
Coming up.
So I'm up in the studio, like working for this station, surrounded by all these purple nights.
Oh, but ain't it disgusting?
It's critical up in here. Ain't it disgusting? It's critical.
Oh, Lord.
Let me tell you something. Edna cannot, under any circumstances, lose to St. Aug.
Now, both of them undefeated, huh?
I don't know what St. Aug is. I don't keep up with Purple Knights. What you want me to ex a Purple Knight? Ex Nyron? I don't know.
Oh, man. Man, I come in here. I'm recovering. Guys, OT, I'm recovering from being under the weather, man. I feel better. My voice, this ain't my sexy voice. This is my strained throat voice from all of the events that I went to. Man, shout out to the American Street Group and the Goose Gala and Picnic.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. People came out.
Oh, when you say wow, that's a good thing. Wait, don't you know we always show up, though? We show up now.
Well,
Yeah.
You know, there's so many things that, especially if you look at social media,
Mm-hmm.
1,000 people will say, I'm going to be there. And when you go, it'd be 10 people, right?
But that might be the 10 people that need to be there.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
I
Yeah,
tell
it's
people
the
that
10
all the
people
time.
that need to
I don't
be
really
there.
worry about how many.
Yeah.
But the Goose, Lenny Sylvester, man, Miss Edna, and all of the folk, man, it was really, really, really.
Oh, till you like going
wonderful
viral,
event.
huh? Because I saw you dancing and two-stepping
Oh,
at
no,
somebody's
no,
birthday
again.
party.
Oh, that was Miss Mary.
Uh-huh. You was getting your little night wall hustle on at the party.
Miss Mary had a wonderful event. It was packed.
It was.
A lot of the Pontchartrain Park seniors were there. Cinda, who manages Pontchartrain Park Senior Center. It was absolutely awesome. It
When I
really
saw that
was.
video, I said, "Now he better not come in here talking about that knee, because that knee looked like it was doing what it needed to do
Oh, hey,
on that
look,
video.
Look. Look, before, first of all, I can't help myself anyway.
You can't help yourself."
No.
Mhm.
No, I really can't.
Mhm.
If you start playing some music or some New Orleans music,
Mhm.
or it's a good rhythm,
Yeah.
I can't help myself. My mama started that, though.
Listen.
When she would tell me and my brother, go dance for the people.
Ain't nothing like
And we start bucking.
a New Orleans two-step, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Miss Mary, remember, did you see Miss Mary, Eddie, some years old? You saw her?
Yes,
You
yes.
saw her?
Giving you a run for your money. Yes,
Yes.
I saw her. Yes, I saw her.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw
That was
you.
Miss Mary
You
Simon.
had to keep up.
Mary Simon. Well, I don't know about that.
How old is she? Yeah, you had to keep up.
I don't know about that.
That lady had you in the tailspin. How old did Miss Mary make?
She made 80.
80.
She was doing it.
80. And you trying to tell me she didn't give you a run for your coin?
Yeah,
80.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, exactly.
Well, I ain't want.
Let's be honest on the record here.
Miss Mary, well, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it nice. Yeah, Miss Mary was a nice party too.
Yeah.
It really was.
Look, y'all look like you had a good time.
First of all, I love to see our seniors. They was,
You had a good time.
they was having a good time, and the Hangout had their election rally. Shout out to the Rhodes family and the group that's with voter registration and getting people engaged to come out to vote over at the Hangout. Man, that was really, really good. Clerk Darren Lombard came out. Juana Lombard came out. Councilmember Marino came out, and the owners of the Hangout. They really, really, it was a nice event.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it really was good.
So talking about community, there's a community meeting tonight from 6 to 8 at the Treme Community Center, 900 North Villeray. The guest speaker is District Attorney Jason Williams, and this meeting comes on the heels of the update with the consent decree. So if you have questions about the consent decree, if you want to know how does NOPD policies and processes affect you, if you have concerns about the new crime law, you might want to attend the community meeting tonight, Monday, September 30th, 6 to 8 at the Treme Community Center, 900 North Villeray, and that's hosted by the 1st District Police Community Advisory Board, and the president is Morgan Clevenger.
Yeah. Also, shout out to the Men of Recovery seminar.
Mm-hmm.
They had the New Orleans Recovery Collective. They had their event on Saturday. I was the speaker. It was the importance of mental health and substance abuse.
Yeah.
And it was Pastor Harold Gordon,
Okay.
my cousin Todd Jalou.
We just had them on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was really, really nice. It was, the men came out. NAMI was there, Mental
Yeah.
Health Institute. I forgot the doctor's name who spoke about addiction and recovery. And there was so many good brothers. Brother Russell was there, people I'd known my whole life, man. The event was good because the men were there talking about recovery, overcoming addiction, and then, my talk was about how God's best people are people who go through something.
Absolutely.
So once you go through something and
Yeah.
overcome it,
Mm-hmm.
you ready.
Yeah.
You are ready.
And then you have a testimony to bring back to people
Yeah.
that illuminates God's grace.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
It tells you that people are redeemable.
The International Arts Festival had their event too. That was awesome to see all of the countries come out. I didn't, and I was on lockdown, but that piece that we did on infrastructure, there's so many different countries around the world, right, that are dealing with either aging infrastructure or not enough infrastructure
Yeah.
at all. So at some point, the way climate change, the way the Earth's weather patterns are changing, you may have built your infrastructure based on flooding, but now your area is dealing with drought.
Something different, yeah.
And the crazy thing that I've learned about this whole thing with water, right? Like you would fight against the water because of flooding, but then if you don't have enough water, you got subsidence.
Yes.
You got it affects your infrastructure in a totally different way. So that balance.
Well, Jamaica is one of my favorite places to go, and they deal with drought like nobody else. And they do like the recycled rainwater.
Yeah,
so they
use
put
cisterns and
absolutely.
stuff,
So that's we could just learn from people who do it best.
Ain't no doubt about it.
Yes.
So it was a full weekend. And I was watching the news, just preparing for our talk about national politics, and it seems like the race is really, really tightening up even more, man.
And the tighter it gets, the more unhinged he gets, because now he's comparing his body to Joe Biden. He's saying that Vice President Kamala Harris was born mentally impaired. He's just saying any and everything to radicalize his base.
I haven't, for the life of me, I don't want to say that I'm baffled all the time, right? Because I think this man, he's given us his profile. And you know what his profile is. And someone who's not mentally stable. You know, someone who's so consumed with themselves that even the best advice from people close to him doesn't matter. Because I've never seen someone try so hard to lose. But and I know the flip side of that is how the country's split, and who are those 50% of the people who are still lining up with him?
Because that's my question. He is who he is, but how do you accept that person being your representative? Now that's the baffling part, because it's like no matter what he says, no matter what he does, no matter how outlandish or extreme, he still has a dedicated base. They're going to vote for him no matter what.
Yeah, and I know Vice President Harris, she went to the border to assure people that she's concerned about illegal immigration, but also that she has a human side, you know. So it's just interesting watching the dynamics of this election, and it seems like the more his personal attacks have increased in some battle. Now people say, well, you know, it's about she's weak on the economy. No, man, everyone knows that. You know, when you talk about the economy, the president doesn't control the economy. You know, that is the 1% who determines GDP and market forces. Yeah. You know, and we know that OPEC determines the cost of oil, but how much they release and how much they distribute.
But that's the point, OT. People don't know. They don't know whose responsibility it is to do what. And that's why when he tells these outlandish stories, it sounds believable to them, because if you don't know, any bit of information sounds like intellect to a person who is ignorant of how it actually works. And he's taking advantage of that. You can blame things on certain entities of government because people don't understand who is responsible for what. You can look at the stimulus. He took total credit for that.
And
he gave no credit to Congress. He took total credit for those checks that went out. And that's why folk think that he personally put that money in their pocket.
And that's why civics is needed again.
I went to an event called Civics for the People this weekend.
It is really needed
in Baton
again.
Rouge. Gary Chambers hosts it. It was wonderful.
It is
very interactive and engaging.
It is really needed again because, you know, and I try to explain to people sometimes, right? It's like here in New Orleans. We have school board members.
Yes.
First of all, we have clerks of certain criminal civil court. We have school board members. We have council members. We have a mayor. We have state reps, state senators.
Yes.
And you have a governor. But it is consistently that people will call the city for school and state, and then we have a congressman in federal issues.
Right.
You know,
Because in some cities, though, OT, the mayor does have a direct relationship with the education system. So if you think the mayor has a direct relationship with the education system, and the city council basically governs the mayoral budget, you're thinking
that's what
that you have it too. So
here we don't.
some people we don't have that here, and some
we don't.
people think because they come from other places and that's how it works that it has
Right.
to work that way here.
Right. And one of the biggest examples every year it happens. The state will close our bridges,
Yes.
and they'll close certain state routes,
Yeah.
and people will call the mayor and the council members.
Mhm.
And then they got the rep and senator's phone number.
Yes.
Anything along the river or port. That is not the city council.
And they just don't know that.
You know, but even when you
Tell them. Yeah. But also too, they may feel like I know OT gonna
Accessibility.
find out. He's gonna find out for me.
It's
yeah,
accessibility.
so that's what that is.
Accessibility.
And if I feel like it may not
Accessibility.
necessarily be your job, but you're gonna answer the phone for me, you're gonna
Accessibility.
you're gonna tell me where to go and
That's
who to talk
absolutely
to.
correct.
So that may be it as well. But also too, I was a principal of Edgar P. Harney, and everybody knows Edgar P. Harney, the street it sits off the back of, right? Because the front of the building is Willow Street, but the back of the building is Claiborne. I did not know when I was trying very hard to get some signage there to tell people that there's a school in the area. They needed to slow down. I was trying to get crossing, police to help us with the kids crossing the street. That street is not city, is what they told me.
Right.
I didn't know that.
Right.
And but for being the principal there, I wouldn't have known.
I have relationships.
Right, or have relationships. So when I was trying very hard to get that, I was calling Jay Banks' office like, look, I need your help.
Right.
And they were like, well, that street is, and I'm like, what? I didn't know it.
Right.
So you learn something new every day, but I just took for granted that the street is in my city, is in front of my school, and I need some help getting these folks to slow down. So it's just a matter of educating folk on who does what
That's right.
and where they can go for the right answers. But please don't take for granted that we call the people we know gonna pick the phone up
Yeah, oh, no,
and
no doubt
help
about
us
it.
out.
Yeah, no, look.
So
look,
even
look.
when we know who's in charge of
you
it,
know who's gonna
you gonna pick the
try.
phone up. So yeah, I'm gonna call you.
A lady said that when
Mm-hmm.
the New York Times have covered the piece I did, Reflections, years ago when I came back home. And New York Times interviewer asked the lady in the community what was the thing that she liked about me. And she said, because she was at City Hall dealing with an issue 2 days. And I was the only one who spent those 2 days trying to help her, and it wasn't even a city issue.
Yeah,
So, yeah. I mean,
That's what happens.
And we can't always get it right, but we can always at least give our best
absolutely.
and try to connect people.
Yeah,
No doubt about
because
it.
I mean that's just what that is. If I'm in a bind and I need answers quickly, I may know that person, but I may know it may be hard to reach that person. When I have your number on speed dial, basically, I'm gonna call you.
Absolutely.
So that's what the
You
folk are
should.
doing. They have your number and they're calling.
And you should.
Yeah, so I think that's what that is too. It's just about who's gonna show up.
Well, we're going to, I think it's the press conference for the Pelicans today, too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What they talking about?
Well, football season has started. now we right. Basketball season about to kick off.
But
in
you know the
October,
Saints
too.
could be 4-0 right now, right?
They should be.
And they should
They should
be.
have won everything.
We need to take points when we have the ability to get points.
Now, the experts thought they were going to be 1-3. They
Yeah.
thought they would just one of those games. That was Carolina.
Uh-huh.
But they're 2-2. So they're
We
better
still
than,
at 500.
So they're better there.
Yeah, but we should be 4-0.
Yeah, one game out of first place.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey,
You
look,
just don't lose to Atlanta though. Like I could be 1-3.
You saw my
Long-
text from my people in Atlanta, right? How they go
1-3.
rotation.
Long as that one is Atlanta. Like you don't lose to Atlanta.
That's their Super Bowl.
Yes, you just don't lose to Atlanta. They're gonna troll us for the rest of the year.
That's their Super Bowl. So when Atlanta beats us, since they ain't never won a Super Bowl, when Atlanta, yeah,
Well, they had a chance. I mean, they was up like what?
It was up
25
it was
points?
Up by, yeah, with 2
They
minutes
was up
left.
25 and
And
lost.
they got Brady. They got Tom Brady.
They went in that locker room high off that lead and came back.
Hey, man. Well, look.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? As bad as I felt yesterday, I feel good here today with you. So,
Well, thank
and like
you.
I tell people, this ain't my sexy voice. This is OT's strained throat recovery voice. So we're going to take a break, guys. And when we come back, the Hoffman Triangle Outreach Fest, right? We're going to talk to Gail Glapion and then Don Francis about eliminating truancy. And at 8:20, Councilman Leslie Harris, the housing amendment. That and a whole lot more on WBOK.
What New Orleans is talking about.
And whose station?
Our station.
Our station, baby.
Hi, I'm Dr. Tony Flowers, Chief Diversity and Social Responsibility Officer at LCMC Health, and I want to bring you 5 tips to know for a great medical appointment. Number 1, know your questions. Make a short list of your most important questions and bring that with you to your appointment. Number 2, know what's being said. Ask your provider to speak in plain language, not those big long terms. Number 3, know the wellness plan. Ask your provider to explain the plan for your care in 3 simple steps. Number 4, know why the plan is important. Ask your provider to explain what will happen if you forget to follow the plan. And number 5, know your medications. Ask these questions to understand your medication. Why am I taking this? How will it help my condition? What time should I take it? What will happen if I miss a dose? We want you to build a great partnership with your providers and be in the know about your health. This is brought to you through a partnership of LCMC Health and the New Orleans Health Department. Be in the know.
Welcome back to school, families and scholars. NOLA Public Schools is excited to kick off another exciting year of learning, growth, and success. Our dedicated teachers have been preparing all summer to provide an engaging and enriching experience for every student. Let's embrace new challenges, celebrate achievements, and make this school year the best one yet. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS by visiting our social media channels. Here's to a year filled with curiosity, creativity, and community. Attend today, achieve tomorrow.
The National Fried Chicken Festival presented by Raising Cane's is back with over 40 restaurants, 2 days of entertainment, and 3 VIP experiences. Join us October 5th and 6th on Lakeshore Drive at Franklin. Get your tickets at friedchickenfestival.com.
Get ready to groove and savor the flavor at the 2024 Crescent City Blues and Barbecue Festival, October 11th through the 13th, presented by the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation. Free and open to the public at Lafayette Square Park. Performing Lil Ed and the Blues Imperials, Irma Thomas and the Professionals, Marcia Ball, and more. For more information, visit CrescentCityBluesFest.com. Let the good times roll.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show
Good morning.
on WBOK 1230 AM.
Well, how you like that, man? 24 minutes past top of the hour. Dr. Y, A-Dub-O-T, Nyron on the box, the early bird. And when you got 2 notables in the studio with you, man, you just sell a what? Break. No about a doubt it, the great Gail Glapion. And ain't no Zion like a pleasant Zion, right? And that is Reverend Dr. Kenneth Thompson. Guys, welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Good morning.
No, thank y'all so much for being who y'all are, so we could be who I could be, and we could pass it on to Dr. Ashante Wyatt. Guys, well, first of all, Dr. Wyatt and I now, we don't just jump into interviews because we like to know how our guests are doing. And Reverend Doctor, if you don't mind if I start with the First Lady of everything.
Beauty first.
Give a clappy on how are you?
Blessed mightily.
Okay.
Don't have any complaints.
Okay.
So grateful.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
That's good. And now, Reverend Thompson, how you doing?
I'm blessed as well.
Okay.
The devil trying to get me, but the Lord holding me, keeping me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like
Well,
that.
you know, you got a lot of warriors above you, below you, and definitely around you. The Hoffman Triangle, man. I remember that whole community, right? When it started, the effort to take a look at how do you cull it out, and with housing and community events.
Rosalind Pacio had
And
a
Roz,
lot to
you
do
know,
with
I was
that.
about to say Roz Pacio, but tell us about the Hoffman Triangle Outreach Fest.
Yeah,
Because we're here to
yeah.
promote the fest, right?
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
indeed.
Tell us about it.
And Hoffman Triangle. Well, the fest is going to be this coming Saturday from 11 to 4. It's going to be on the corner of Taladana and Galvez in the Pleasant Zion parking lot. We're going to have a great time strengthening body, mind, and soul for the residents of not only the Hoffman Triangle, but that whole Central City area. Yesterday, we had folk out door-to-door canvassing OT and inviting people to come in. And we want them to come in because when they get in, they're going to have a great time with the music, free food, inspirational moments, activities for the children, etc.
And Reverend Thompson, let's take a little walk.
Okay.
You, gosh, I mean, decades ago now, started to focus on those distinct boundaries, right, which created the triangle. And as I remember correctly, you're one of the leaders in bringing the community together. Its leaders.
That's right.
Well, I'm surprised to hear that I'm the senior pastor around there, which just only means that I've been there 38 years. And we have, over the years, we used to have a monthly outreach where we'd walk down Taladano, go through the shopping center, cross over to the McDonald's, and sometime we'd come back up to Washington, and we were passing out flyers, and
I participated in a few of those walks years ago.
right, and the neighborhood has changed a little bit. It's a little more diverse. The church on the corner of Galvez and Washington is filled with people from Guatemala. And so we've had to try to change as well to adapt to the change in the neighborhood. There's a great set of apartments being built on Galvez Street and in that area, and we thank God for the work that we've been able to do to make sure that the streets are in repair.
But let's talk about that. Remember, the first initiative in the Hoffman Triangle had to do with home ownership, right, and creating opportunity. The second effort dealt with livable communities, bringing business back to that area. And we see that now, from the Broadmoor area to Callio, which is Merrill Gardens.
Yeah, you've got Odyssey House coming in there now.
Odyssey House, what's happening on Broad, the Old Bone building. We see now a mixture, not just in terms of the demographics. We see a mixture when you talk about housing and small businesses and micro businesses. Is this what you envision, what the community envisioned when that effort started a couple of decades ago?
Well, we if you remember, all congregations together.
Reverend Davis.
Yeah, and they would come and sit down at people's kitchens tables and say, what do you want to see in the neighborhood? And the people all kind of say, what? You mean you're asking me? And they're saying, yeah, we're asking you. two things came out of that. One was the need for housing, and one was the problem of crime. And Mark Morrell was just coming into office, and he kind of took that information and put it on his wall. And even to this day, the two main problems in the city are housing and crime.
Yeah. The past is
We're
being-
talking about
Go ahead.
we're talking about the material side of that, but we're dealing also with the spiritual side of that. And the Lord is talking to the neighborhood and asking them to come and join his flock.
So, what inspired the theme "Strengthening Body, Mind, and Spirit" for this year's event?
Well, the recognition that we're more than just physical. We're more than just physical. We are spiritual. We are emotional. And we have, our needs are more than just material needs.
Amen.
Money is good, but we need more than money to be who God planned for us to be.
So, for the people who are intending to come, what types of activities can the attendees expect
answer that?
at the fest?
Yeah, well, for the children, we have arts and crafts, and we're going to have sports activities presented by the Kids Sports Center, Joe Sanino. We're going to have fitness activities for the adults. We will have voter registration table, on-site registration. We're going to have activities that will focus on a medical panel that's going to talk about what do we need to do to close the age gap. We have a 25-year age gap between African Americans and whites.
Life expectancy.
Life expectancy. What do we need to do to reduce that gap? And we're going to have the winners of the NAACP Arts National Competition. 4 of those young people who participated in that national activity, they are going to make presentations. We have the national classical singer winner, Malika Suggs, who's going to be there. And so we're going to have the Anthony Bean Community Theater, who's done an original skit for this event. So we're just so blessed to have young people who are going to be performing. We're going to have the Nord Senior Gospel Choir. They are fabulous.
Oh, just events on top of events, on top of events.
Yes.
So how does the fest aim to strengthen community ties in the Hoffman Triangle area?
Well, our pastor was very modest. He has been
Very
the leader,
modest.
the leader in that community. He helped really get the Hoffman Triangle Neighborhood Association moving. And only recently, the students at UNO did a survey of that community. And some of the data coming out of that is just really encouraging that the Hoffman Triangle is moving. For example, the population in that area has grown to 46%. Hoffman Triangle population grew 46% from 2010 to 2020. There are more buildings for fewer overgrown lots versus 2012, when there were lots of empty lots. And when they surveyed the property, the majority of the Hoffman Triangle parcels of property are in good condition. And Pastor Dr. Reverend Thompson was very much responsible for encouraging and pushing that Hoffman Triangle Neighborhood Association to move towards those kinds of improvements. He almost single-handedly, in our block where our church is located, 3317, removed the ballroom that used to be on the corner that was disruptive and not a good thing for, that area. And it showed again in that survey that 44% of the parcels have no sidewalks or they're in bad condition. So there's a lot of work to be, done in that area. Their calls for emergency service are down in the Hoffman Triangle. So we have a lot going on in that little small parcel. On to the south is Claiborne. To the west is Martin Luther King, and to the west is Taladana, and to the east is Martin Luther King, and that's the triangle.
So let's take a walk down the history of that community. And you mentioned housing and crime. There's nowhere near the level of crime that used to happen.
Absolutely, it's down.
In that area. When you know the history of that community in the city, at one point in the neighborhood adjacent to you, in almost a mile square radius, they had 35 murders in 1 year. I remember that because one of your peers, Bishop Watson, used to go and preach on the corner, right? And then you focused on the housing initiative. The thing that ACT did was, ACT, along with the Morial administration and the city council at that time, they had the Holy Ghost Initiative.
That's right.
They have the Hoffman Triangle Initiative. They had the Desire Initiative. They had all these different initiatives that focused on housing. You were one of the main people who said that housing stabilization could create the type of communities you want. Why was it that you first focused on giving the people a place to stay, and then the other things started to happen?
Well, your home is your base. If you don't, well, we see that now when you got so many houseless people. And on my way here, I passed a lady asleep on the neutral ground. If you don't have a stable home, everything is built up from the stable home.
But talk about the effectiveness of ACT being that anchor, that foundation, where you carved out certain communities like the Hoffman Triangle to say this is what the city and its resources needed to focus on. And then, of course, the partnership with Ross Pacho and that group, and hence you have it now. And the reason why I'm saying that is because though that area has been successful, the demographic has changed. That used to be a majority African-American community. Now District B is only 49% African-American. So then the challenges are, how do we keep indigenous people or black folk in neighborhoods that are improving? But that housing and infrastructure piece, you see the streets being done now. We remember the condition of Galvez.
It was an amusement ride.
We used to call it the Zephyr.
Yeah.
And then in Washington. So talk about those steps, right, from the church to City Hall to the state community.
Well, as I said, back when all congregations together was active, they started in people's kitchen tables, and they moved from there to public meetings. We'd have a meeting with 1,000 people, and we'd call out the officials to attend, and we'd present them with
You have a pledge.
yeah, and we call them back at a specified time and say, okay, how did you do? And they'd say, what? What? And we say, we expect you to do this, And some resisted, but for example, Mark Morial, like I said, took the data that we supplied and put it on his wall so he'd see it every day. And the housing began to move from that. And NDF were working on with helping people get down payments. Rosalind Washington, with Rosalind Pacho.
Fred Johnson.
Yeah.
Lauren Anderson.
That's right. That's right. And they're still working. And the churches, we're working, one of the things that we have not mentioned is the spiritual side of it. While we're doing these things out on the parking lot, on the inside of the church, I'll be doing what we call the 4 spiritual laws. And for the kids and for the adults, 2 different things. And so we're dealing with the material side on one hand and the spiritual side on the other hand.
So Ms. Glapion, this fest, is it a celebration of those couple of decades of work, or is it setting the table for a new foundation to move forward with that work and those successes being setting new goals?
Yeah, well, I guess you could say it's a little bit of both, because this, of course, is this outreach is part of what years ago the pastor started, with walking, as you mentioned earlier, in the community. Well, we're asking the community to come to us, and we can give the messages and the encouragement. And last year was the first year, because it was following the pandemic, when so many, churches and fellowships got separated and just kind of fell off. So this is the second year of celebrating both the success of what is happening in that little small community called the Hoffman Triangle, and looking forward to what can be done and what we need to do as a community. Because, to do these efforts, you have to build a sense of community. People need to know that we want you to come together with us. And as Christians, we give our greatest outreach when we say, we love you. We have the love of God in you. Mm-hmm.
So how can local residents get involved or contribute to the fest?
Well, they can come, first of all.
Come.
Yes, we want you to come. That's 3317 Taladana Street on the corner of Taladana and Galvez. We'll be out in the parking lot and inside the church and the whole area. We just want everybody to come in and fellowship with us and celebrate community, celebrate the accomplishments of the Hoffman Triangle, and to give the encouragement to continue to move forward.
That's October 5th, 2024, 3317 Taladano, 11 to 4 p.m. So what message, Pastor, do you hope attendees take away from the event?
Well, we hope that they will first of all, be saved. We're a church after all, and we're answering God's command to go, therefore, make the disciples of all nations, teaching them to observe whatever I have commanded you. And he said, "Lo, I'll be with you always, even to the end of the age." So, with 2 words, two letters, go. And we sometimes say to the members of Pleasant, "Now, what part of go don't you understand?" Instead of, we've heard people pray, "Lord, let some man, woman come crying, what must I do?" We saying, just sit here and just wait for them to come. It's not going to happen. You got to go out. So this is part of our anti-passive program, you can say it that way, to go out into the community and to pull them in. And in so doing, they will be blessed.
Well, we're talking to Gail Glapion and Reverend Dr. Kenneth Thompson of Pleasant Zion about the Hoffman Triangle Neighborhood Outreach Fest. I know before COVID, Pastor Rogers was doing his Family Fest, and there were so many different positive things coming together in that community. But talk about the demographic challenge there. Is the neighborhood aware of that? Because in many cases, as the neighborhood improves, it's actually pushed many African American who rent it, or many who own some of the more challenged properties, push them out. Look, we're going to go to break, right? So we'll hold that. And how do we begin to stabilize that indigenous native community there as Hoffman Triangle and much of the core of the city move forward? People forget Central City used to have half of the murders in the city and over a third of most violent crime. And efforts and seeds that were planted, like from Reverend Dr. Thompson Act and many others, much of those seeds on the good side, they've come into fruition now. Those seeds are being harvested now. But sometimes that means the folk who were there when they were going through the bad times aren't there to experience the good times. That and a whole lot more after the break. WBOK 1230 a.m.
What New Orleans is talking about.
Yeah.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Fostering futures since 1957, Benjamin Franklin High School celebrates diversity and respects the individuality of each student. A 5-time Blue Ribbon school, Benjamin Franklin offers dozens of AP and dual enrollment courses, as well as a wide variety of sports and more than 80 clubs. Benjamin Franklin High School invites you to their open house Thursday, October 10th from 5:30 to 8 p.m. Visit www.bfhsla.org to learn more. Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Talk That NOLA Education is all about awareness. Join Dr. Jaquil Ross from New Schools for New Orleans to learn about Thrive Kids, a student wellness program created at Children's Hospital and in partnership with NOLA Public Schools. Tune in for Talk That this Monday at 12:30 p.m. on 1230 a.m.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 a.m.
Minutes past the top of the hour, Dr. Watt. So we went to break with the question about how do we begin to stabilize that community, especially because when we look at gentrification, when we look at neighbors being flipped, when we look at that area, which is part of District B of Central City, which was once majority African American, now it's only 49% African American. What do we begin to do to make sure that the people who live in those communities, not that we don't want diverse communities, but how do they begin to maintain their place in the triangle and in adjacent areas? Ms. Clapion?
Well,
Dr. Thompson?
the continuation of home ownership is one way, certainly, if you own the home. And we have some if we have some encouraging indications of home ownership. And we know that when people own their home, also they kind of keep up with what needs to be done to keep those neighborhoods and what have you up. So home ownership is one. The other is, in that area, we still need to have lots of things like child care is a need. We need to. I don't think there's a drugstore. I'm talking specifically in that little triangle. I think the survey showed that there was 0 drugstore. Groceries, fresh market, groceries with fresh. Those kinds of amenities need to continue to grow. That will draw people, into the community. The continuation and looking at and dealing with the issues of blight. That also helps to draw folk in. And affordable housing. That's for the renters. That's a critical piece, and we're just delighted to see. I can't remember the young man's name, but it's a young African American who has developed a beautiful apartment complex on that Gallery Street.
Captain Charles has invested
in
several housing opportunities in that area. And we there was a bakery in that area. We have Laurel Street, a bakery in that area. We have the new Odyssey House, in one of the anchors
on Broad.
In that area on Broad. I think the store, which was Aaron's, is still there. Now you don't have the Fox, you don't have Marie's, and you don't have Twins Escape anymore, but we still do have some, I think, minority-owned businesses there. Go ahead.
The department store, the grocery store that was there recently closed, and that's a concern.
Okay. So Aaron's is closed.
Not Aaron's.
It used to be.
I'm talking about the one on Claiborne.
Oh, the one on Claiborne is closed. The Save-A-Lot.
Yeah, that's
Save-A-Lot.
Yeah. They're closing all over.
Yeah. So we're concerned about that.
Yeah.
But you got a Starbucks.
And a PJ's.
That's true. We got both of those.
Yeah, we got coffee places.
Technically, PJ's is not in trying.
No, the Starbucks.
It's right on the right on the edge. Let me mention the name of the person who's the president right now of the Hoffman Triangle, and that's Reverend Chuck Morse. And so we just recently went back from doing the Zoom meetings to meeting in person, and they keep their hand on the crime there. We're always talking to the NOPD and so forth like that.
Now, Reverend Thompson, when you started this initiative decades ago, and you tell folk you don't always seek success right away, right? Sometimes those seeds have to be planted. One of the initiatives I remember was a relationship with Taylor Playground. And it created a lot of activity there. Some of that activity started to wane. Talk about the playground's role, right, in the start of this effort and how important it's going to be moving forward.
Well, we don't have as much contact with them as we used to have prior to the pandemic. But that we're open to that, and to Rosenwald. We see both of those. They are great opportunities.
Right.
Right now, there's construction at Taylor Park, street construction, and so a lot of big pipes and things over there. But we are coming back. I say we, I mean the Hoffman Triangle Neighborhood Association is coming back since the pandemic, and we're touching all those bases. I wanted to say that in answer to one of your earlier questions, last year when we did the fest, we had participation by the new part of the neighborhood.
Yeah, there's the young white minister, great, nice guy. I met him last year. What's his name?
You must be talking about Bruce Satterley.
Okay, yeah. 'Cause that was one of the most interesting parts is that now it was noticeable that the demographic has changed because you have Caucasians now who are involved in the triangle effort.
Yeah, the Hispanic, I think, is like 13%, 13 to 15% now.
Yeah.
We had testimonies by Hispanic people at the last year's fest, and so we're kind of looking forward to doing that today.
Well, talking about, you got to feel good knowing that you took a neighborhood. There have been so many challenges in the neighborhood, right? From having some of the highest cases of violent crime and murder of any part of this city, to the challenges post-Katrina when it was scheduled to be green dot. You guys had to fight against that. To now, not only bringing people back, but stabilizing people. So, Reverend Thompson, man, did you think it would take this long for a lot of the fruits of your labor to begin to take fruition? Or is it just how things
Yes,
work?
I did.
You did, yeah.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
That's the preacher in there.
Yeah.
You
You
our
plant the
work
seed,
never
you
really
say the
finishes.
prayer. Yeah.
You know, you baptize a person, then you got to train them, and you train them. Then you got to marry them. You marry them, and then you got to do the funerals and so on. You're never really finished.
Right.
So we had to kind of take the long view.
Well, the Hoffman Triangle Neighborhood Outreach Fest, I'm looking forward to it. Health screenings, voter registration, fitness activities. And then, I tell people all the time, Dr. Wyatt, free is better than cheap, right?
Free 99.
Free barbecue plates and food demonstrations, activities for kids, gospel music groups, and spiritual inspiration.
Yeah. Sounds like a time.
It definitely sounds like
Sounds like a time.
And we would be remiss if we just didn't reflect on the fact that OT, Oliver Thompson, had a lot to do with that community.
OT has a lot to do with a lot of communities.
Well, look, when
you can put on your modesty hat if
listen,
you like.
like the pastor over there was being all modest, right? But if the pastor didn't know that he had a cheerleader, you are one, because you were spitting that fire for the pastor, letting us know all of the things that he's touched and built up. So everybody needs a Gail Glapion.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt.
Who is your Gail Glapion? You better get you one so that people can spit off them facts about what you've done for this city.
God loves it when the teams comes together.
Yeah.
And when you have a great spiritual leader, when you have someone from education to economics like Gail Glapion.
Yes.
Especially advocating for our community, you can't help but go right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, guys, one more time, the fest is October 5th.
Yes,
it's coming Saturday.
This Saturday.
11 to 4.
Yes, indeed.
Reverend
3317
Dr.
Taladana.
Kenneth Thompson and the great Gail Glapion. Ain't no Zion like a pleasant Zion.
Because if you had to have a Zion, you want it to be pleasant, huh?
Yeah, that's how you go to break, guys. Look, if you study the history of this community, there's no greater renaissance than what happened than the Hoffman Triangle, guys. Let's go out and support this community. It's not only a community that's on a come up and on a comeback. It's the kind of community that can set an example for the resurgence and restoration and renovation
of New Orleans.
WBOK who?
What New Orleans is talking about.
No doubt about it. Whose station?
Our station.
Oh, you know it's your station, Dr. Wyatt. We'll be back after the break.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. North Carolina's governor says help is on the way to people impacted by catastrophic flooding caused by the remnants of Hurricane Helene. Governor Roy Cooper said Sunday the state's National Guard will be airlifting supplies to counties in western North Carolina. Unlike the presidential debate, the vice presidential candidates' microphones will remain on at all times, but just as the presidential debate, there will be no audience for this event. The debate is set for Tuesday night at 9 p.m. That's Eastern Time. The city of Memphis, Tennessee is taking time to honor two African-American hip-hop legends. Rap duo 8Ball and MJG were honored over the weekend after the city renamed a street after them. The committee joined Mayor Paul Young, who is black, for the renaming ceremony. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Celebrating hardworking teachers of New Orleans Public Schools is what we do best. Join New Schools for New Orleans, Allstate, Sugar Bowl, and Interstate New Orleans in recognizing and celebrating the Teachers of the Year at our 3rd annual New Orleans Excellence in Teaching Awards Gala. If you want to check out the awardees and the schools where they teach at, please visit Noeta, Noeta.org. You can also purchase tickets to the gala via the website too. Let's send these teachers some love for all the hard work they do with our students.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
The headline in the Times-Picayune reads, Housing Authority Director Steps Down. That New Orleans Housing Executive Director Yvette Hester is no longer in charge is not a surprise. What is a surprise is that it took so long for it to happen. It's no secret that the Housing Authority, a.k.a. HANO, during the 5 years of Hester's tenure, has been under scrutiny for high staff turnovers and less than stellar property management. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development downgraded HANO to a substandard management rank for the year ending in 2022. Moreover, it's well documented that HANO has left scores of public housing units unoccupied. That, in particular, is the case in the Fisher Affordable Housing Development on the West Bank in Algiers. Furthermore, the grass is left uncut for weeks. Affordable housing advocate Andronika Morris, executive director of Housing NOLA, says HANO has been in a freefall for a while, pointing out that Yvette Hester inherited an agency that was already in a big mess. Says Andronika Morris, quote, "It wasn't like Hester was given a top-of-the-line sports car that she ran into the ground," end quote. She was left with a mountain of poorly managed construction contracts that resulted in a poor job of building units and subsequently rehabbing them. Morris says Hester's problem is that she didn't fix what she inherited. Looking forward, a change in leadership is now an opportunity for the Housing Authority Board to fix the problem. After all, the Housing Authority of New Orleans is responsible for 20% of the city's renters. That's about 20,000 people looking for affordable housing. It seems to me that the ultimate responsibility is on the HANO board members to hire people who know what they're doing. To borrow a quote from Dr. Phil, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. This is Norman Robinson, Off the Top.
Norman Robinson is back.
Can you hear me now?
And he's taking no prisoners.
Can you hear me now?
Each weekday, Norman Robinson brings you commentary with Off the Top.
The incident was shocking, disturbing, disgusting, disappointing, and sad.
Each weekday, Off the Top with Norman Robinson is heard exclusively right here.
It's Off the Top with Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
Hey everybody, it's Graylin Bryant Banks.
And Kimber White Dupree.
From the front porch, y'all. You know how we do. Every Monday it's Movie Monday.
And Tuesday it's Trivia Tuesday.
And y'all know we have nothing but bad cheering coming through here on Wednesday.
But stick with us. On Thursday we travel.
That's right. And Friday's Free Your Mind Friday, so get your brass up.
Something on your mind? Want to get it off your chest?
Holla at your people. WBOK 1230 AM, the station you listen to.
All all day long.
Hey, New Orleans, Tavis Smiley here, inviting you to join me each weekday evening at 7 p.m. right here on WBOK 1230 a.m. for the Tavis Smiley Show. You can expect great guests and getting the answers you need to know. It's the Tavis Smiley Show on our new home in New Orleans, WBOK 1230 a.m.
Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
Trying to grow your business or increase traffic to your location? We can help. WBOK 1230 AM has a number of solutions that will meet your individual needs. Give one of our consultants a call today at 504-582-9420 or email us at info@wbok1230.com. And remember, an investment with WBOK is an investment in our community. Call today.
Good morning. Wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
Back 6 minutes past the top of the hour, none other than introducing to some. But hey, but not that. Now, if you know about the struggle and the fight for education, for our children, for families, for black women, now for black people, Dr. Ashante Wyatt, the host with the most, has been on the point for a long time. And what do we celebrate? We celebrate every day having her voice, in her heart, and her intellect here. Because I tell people all the time, I like nice people, but I like nice people who can think.
Thank you, OT.
And man, look, y'all make me feel a little old sometimes. Who was that little big head boy sitting in those meetings, right? When we was talking about mentoring and walking the street and peace keepers and beef mediation, and look at him. And look at him now, Don Francis, eliminating truancy, a new perspective of dismantling a relationship between truancy and delinquency. And hopefully we'll get that definition today. Don, welcome back to the Good Morning Show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Man, look at you,
Brother
bro.
Oliver, thank you.
Look at you, man.
Look at him.
Dr.
I'm
Wyatt.
so proud.
Thank you.
This is humbling. Thank you, man, for having me.
I am so proud, man. I love it when a plan comes together. It doesn't come together in our time. But it comes together.
Yes,
First
sir.
of all, who is Don Francis?
Sure.
I know who you are and
Sure.
who you be and where you come from, but for our listening audience.
Sure. Well, I'm a native of New Orleans. I've been back. I came back in 2011 from Minnesota, where I got a chance to cut my teeth on mental health, school-based mental health specifically. My thesis was always around African-American families and the connection to school-based mental health, or the lack of mental health and wellness for African-American families. And so coming back home really was inspired to just get involved in the community, because a lot of things has transitioned.
So Don, and Dr. Wyatt, this is one of them where you jump in wherever you like, but I got to say this because, I just come back home, right? And then we're all in meetings together, talking about how we fit, right?
Yes, sir.
And then when I started at WBOK back then, we just started doing a segment on mentally speaking and mental health. And you've been talking about the mental health of our children and aspect. Now we see everybody talking about it. Now, does Don Francis want to say, I told you so, or do you want to say it's about time and let's continue to build on this effort?
It's exciting because I think all of the things that Dr. Wyatt, I've heard her talk about over the years, just protective factors for children of color and families. I think it has came full circle.
Now, explain what protective factors are.
Sure.
'Cause that's a clinical term. And
Sure,
you
I'm
and Dr.
sorry.
Wyatt know,
I'm sorry,
but
I'm
OT
sorry.
don't,
So-
right?
so-
Excuse me, OT doesn't.
I'm sorry. And so protective factors is an opportunity for us to look at the family dynamics, the school dynamics. If this kid is coming from an impoverished community, one of the areas I was really excited to work about, give you an example, protective factors. Holly Grove area, I worked at with many of the Cano schools in areas, so the old what's the old name? Lafayette Academy. Yeah, and the reason I came to that area because of the prenatal program through Tulane University, kids were being born under 5 pounds. So a protective factor would be bringing in resources and experts in that area to really focus on those moms and families and children medically early on. And so from a health and wellness standpoint, the holistic approach to approaching that family, whether it's nutrition, whether it's sleep, whether it's one supportive family member, and so using that framework for children.
Well, so that's why wraparound services are so important, because people forget that as educators, the academic piece of it is probably the last piece of it, right?
Yes,
and
ma'am.
so even when I was a school leader, I understood you have to meet the needs of the children prior to cracking the book open.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of the children who they consider delinquent or truant probably just want a haircut
Exactly.
that their mama can't afford, right? They probably want the benefit of clean clothes to come to school in. I had a principal, Carol Eggerling, didn't care nothing about none of that. She came, knocked on the door and said, give it to me. Her uniform dirty, let me wash it. That's where I learned from. That's who I learned from. That is how I was shaped as an educator and as a leader. I knew that academia will come when all of the other factors are healthy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I could care nothing about your instruction if I'm hungry or if I'm sleepy.
Yes.
If I'm thirsty, if I've been up all night watching my little brother because my mama have to work overnight.
Yes.
And what I've seen happen in education over time is that the teachers have only become robotic in terms of delivering whatever the state says they need to deliver. Teachers, when I came up, were a part of the community so much so that they knew what your family structure was.
Right.
And they knew how to address you when you first walked in to a school. That is why it's important to be a part of the community you think you want to serve. You can't be a stranger to the community and then think that the kids are going to react to you.
Correct.
Respect is not some magical, mythical thing. Respect comes from love, right? When the kids know you love them and you care about them, the respect, they will run through a brick wall for you.
Absolutely.
And
When you meet those other needs, right?
Absolutely.
So we can't just talk academia when we talk about, and I love that this is happening. But I was searching a panel for an educator, right?
Absolutely.
The educator in me was looking like, okay, where the teacher at, right?
Absolutely.
Or even a parent, because sometimes we always want to diagnose a problem and leave out the people most impacted by the problem.
Come on.
You talking about truancy and you ain't gonna talk to a teacher?
Come on.
You know what I mean? You talking about delinquency, you're not gonna talk to a parent. Like those are just my thoughts, but I'm glad you're on the panel because I know that you get it. Because we can strip this MED away. We can strip the thesis away. You're a child of New Orleans who understands a child of New Orleans and what you have to do to serve them best.
Yes, ma'am.
So, I mean, I appreciate that you're on the panel, but I think truancy, for me, and OT knows this, everybody that comes to here knows this, truancy starts with education, in my opinion.
You're right.
Because the children are truant because guess what? The schoolhouse ain't feeding them what they're trying to eat.
Right.
And I'm not just talking food.
That's right.
Even academia, you're not feeding me what I want to eat. You can't go far on this standardized instruction, like this one model fits all thing. You can't. And then you ask teachers to do magic
Right.
with worksheets.
Right.
There are no books in our schools. There are no health professionals in our schools. There are no nurses there.
Right.
There's nobody taking care of their mind and body.
Right.
And then you ask them to perform. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's to me, everything rises and falls on how we educate our children. They will be less likely to be in the street truant if the schoolhouse was feeding them what they wanted to eat, not just food.
Yeah.
But this show segment, go ahead.
No, you're right on spot. So just to answer your question, what we did do, we don't have a teacher or parent on a panel, but I promise you next year we will. I may even ask you to come. So we will have a follow-up.
I'll respond.
Okay, that
I'll
would be
there.
great. Okay, you heard it, Oliver. All right.
So let it be written?
Let it be written.
So let it be done.
Amen. So what we did do though, I've came on in this position in April of last year. 24 actually. So I haven't been there a long time in this role.
Okay.
But what we have done is went out to schools. I'm basically knocking on doors of CMOs and school districts, and I'll let you know that Inspire NOLA was one of the first districts to allow me to come in. Dr. Barjon, who is in counseling but has years of experience.
Shout out to my soror,
Yes.
Sigma Gamma Rho, Sorority Incorporated.
And she's doing really hard work meeting with her social worker. Shout out to Dr. Jones and that entire staff. McDonough 35 and all of those schools are really on board. And so we look forward to participating. We've also met with Dr. Avis Williams. So the next step is to connect the community with the parents. So if I was a three-headed monster, I would say community engagement, school engagement, and family engagement. And so we're in our early baby steps.
That's the Hoffman Triangle, OT.
That's a triangle.
Did you hear it? Yeah.
So we're going to need your help in the community to grow those relationships and get out of working in silos. And I'm really excited about that.
So let's talk about this event. Before you guys came in, Dr. Wyatt was excited to have
Absolutely
at least
was.
a perspective of truancy versus delinquency, because a lot of people, they are different. Don, explain the difference and why truancy is one thing, but delinquency is a whole nother.
Yes, and so we are learning, we're still studying the data, and so one of the things that's been really critical for us is to look at children and families who with medical issues, and so which can start out as a couple of days but turn into a real high absentee problem, right? Well, that's not being truant. That just means we have to pay more attention, like I said, protective factors as opposed to risk factors. So teaching a young man about his diabetes, so maybe his sugar intake, we can change his diet, let him see a nutritionist, check in with the nurse daily. And we had a kid with his score was over 500, and so he was sickly every morning. And so we just needed to change his diet, feed him at school, check his blood sugar levels regularly, which is something where African-American, males runs high in our population. So to increase the awareness of teaching the kid. And so I'm going to stick with that with absenteeism. And so partnering, we've learned that we can get some of those days knocked off. And when I say knocked off, I'm saying that the parents, not only can we write letters to say, hey, this young man was at the hospital, but we want to follow up with the nurses to make sure he's getting continued care. High absenteeism, right? Truancy, that's how our young men are, based on our 10 grounds, we look at 10 areas. And so things like, hanging in front of a liquor store, being at someone's help, spending the night at someone's house and you can't get to school can become a truant area. Let me give you an example. We have some young people whose parents work third shift, and so they move house to house in the middle of the night. And I learned this from elementary school kids. So we had young people.
A famous Hall of Famer football player that used to go from apartment to apartment in a Desire Project. I'm not going to say his name, but where just so he could be safe and people could watch over him just to try to get to school every day.
And I remember that young man, and he went on to do great things. I know exactly who you're talking about. And so that's what Dr. Wyatt is talking about, that community being behind it. But we've maybe can improve our next steps because we've kind of lost the village concept. And so there's truancy issues, even around cyberbullying. Kids afraid to show up to school because someone sent them a text or Instagram message in the middle of the night. And so then it becomes a repeated, now it's a bullying thing that this kid has suicide ideation. And so we really are looking at, or the kid who says, I have no connection to school. I don't want to be here. And now he's avoiding his opportunity.
And now she too.
And she. Thank you for the correction. Are avoiding a place where it's supposed to be a nurturing ground, and I end with this. And so truancy, right? Looking at cyberbullying, looking at human trafficking, and here's what I found. Our kids, did you all know that we met with the Department of Defense this summer. So we're still doing our research on New Orleans. Orleans Parish specifically, because we're a port city, the third largest port in America, right? That our kids are in the top 5 for human trafficking in the world.
Yes.
We knew that.
And so it was news to me. And so we're really having to change fins, right? And that's why I say now families in need, because these kids may just need a little bit of edge. And you know this language, Doc. Tier 2 and Tier 3 is where our focus is. And so that might be the family. We had a young man. Here's to sum it up. Truancy. Young man, we met him this summer. He had 70 days absent. And I'm not going to focus on the problem. I'm going to be solution-based. So we got with that family, and we got with the school leaders, and we set up a home visit. And that's New Harmony School. Shout out to Bessie and all the work they're doing. And so we came together, and basically we was interviewing this kid. Guess what? Guess what his truancy, the real problem was, Brother Oliver? His brother was killed 24 months ago, and he never received due process for counseling for that family.
That's most of the children in the city of New Orleans. So here is my question.
Yep.
What impact do you think a universal calendar will have on truancy? Because I can remember when I was a kid, coming up in schools, the people at the corner store and everybody else knew what time you weren't supposed to be roaming around.
That's right.
But now we have so many different schools and so many different calendars.
Yes.
The corner store people don't know that Lil Johnny not supposed to be in his store right now because Lil Johnny's supposed to be in school. But then some of the children have the day off. So Lil Johnny can hide under the covering of the other children who have the day off. So what impact do you think a universal calendar will have on truancy? We're not talking delinquency, truancy.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
And Naira, in the segment, we probably needed a whole show on this piece, and hopefully you'll come back.
He got to come back.
But while you're answering that question, Friday, October 4th, from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the LCMC Conference Center, 2000 Canal Street. Guys, eliminating truancy, a new perspective, dismantling the relationship between truancy and delinquency. Answer that question as we go to the next segment.
Brother Oliver, that was so many words and deep. Break it down for me. Give it to me in the simplest form, so I want to make sure I answer your question.
What impact do you think
the calendar?
The universal calendar will have on
I got 1 minute.
truancy?
Sure.
Yes.
So one of the things that we all need to do is, as educators and leaders, is come together. And so, I mean, all of the CMOs, all of the districts, so we can get on either a unified calendar or one that brings awareness and an understanding of what's going on in each district. We are not working together. And so coming together, bringing these districts will eliminate these kids just being on the street. Between 8 a.m. and 3:30 is when our crimes are happening with young people. And so we say if we can get them involved, engaged in either with some supervision of adults in some actually recreational or cultural programming or after-school program, what we can say with that unified calendar is our kids are occupied. So at Nord C, YMCA Uptown, any of the organizations, we want to connect with those schools first. So thank you for bringing that up, and that's my next step.
Don Francis, also shout out to Judge Renard Darensburg and Chief Judge Candace Bates Anderson, and all of the speakers, Judge Stephen Teskey, Storm Ellis, Jonathan Winfrey, Dr. Angela White-Bazile, Judge Gail Glover, Dr. Diane Puig, DeShannon Saul, Dr. Ernest Singleton, and of course, the incomparable young man I'm so proud of,
Don Francis.
Don Francis. Don, let's come back and continue this
Thank you
discussion,
for having
please,
us.
because I think it's important.
And if you all ever want to visit the courts, we're doing some new things. We just opened what's called the Carmen Studio. Please come and see it. It's for kids. It's therapeutic. Please, I want you to come.
Dr. Wyatt's already volunteered to
She's on the
film
panel
in that area. And, just reach out to me.
Done deal.
Yeah.
Wow, we finished with this segment, but next time we're going to book this whole piece for at least a half of the show. Coming up, Councilmember Harrison Friends, the housing amendment, that and a little much more. We'll be back after the break.
Hey, this is D. Riley from the 90s Hits R&B Jams. Make sure you listen to WBOK 1230 AM every Saturday night from 7 until 9 p.m. I'll be giving you the best R&B jams from the 90s. That's right, all your favorites and more. With me, D. Riley, your host of the 90s Hits, right here on WBOK 1230 AM, or listen online at WBOK1230.com. WBOK, the station you listen to longer.
Discover the Leah Chase School, NOLA Public School's first new direct-run traditional public school in nearly 2 decades. We offer excellence in math, science, English, and social studies, focusing on unlocking every child's potential. Every scholar receives a personal device, regular assessments, clear family communication, as well as transportation services in a nurturing, arts-inclusive environment. Secure your child's K through 5th grade slot today. Apply at enrollnolaps.com and embark upon a unique educational journey.
Fried chicken isn't just food, it's a feeling. It's family reunions, Sunday dinners, and celebrations. It's the taste of home. The National Fried Chicken Festival, presented by Raising Cane's, brings people together from all walks of life to share a delicious, time-tested tradition. It's fried fun for everyone. Join us October 5th and 6th at the New Orleans Lakefront. Get your tickets today at friedchickenfestival.com.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK 1230 AM and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
This is Monica Pierre along with Sally Ann Roberts Daybone, co-host of Your Power is On.
Your Power is On gospel music show is coming on at a new time. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. for music that feeds the spirit. Get your Sunday on.
Right here on WBOK 1230 AM and WBOK1230.com, the station you listen to all day long.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Back 26 minutes past the top of the hour. And look, man, sometimes things just kind of happen, right? And one of the most important I'll never forget that Dr. Wyatt was so excited when talking about truancy and delinquency. Finally, we'll get a chance to talk about the difference, right? And what do we do? And we had a very short segment, but our next guest was not able to come. So we're going to continue this conversation with Mr. Don Francis, right? Eliminating Truancy, a New Perspective. This conference summit or workshop hosted by Judge Dariensburg and Judge Candace Bates Anderson on Friday, October 4th, 8 to 4:30 at the LMC Conference Center, 2000 Canal Street. Free registration, lunch provided, handicap accessible, and your parking will be validated. So, Dr. White, let's get back to where you were and Don were, especially we're kind of in your wheelhouse, right? Truancy, delinquency, we started getting into how they're different.
Right. Well, because what the question I asked and the reason I asked about the universal calendar is because if the data is correct and it's saying that 15 to 18% of all arrests happen between 8 and 3:30, if as a community we knew when these kids are supposed to be out and when they're supposed to be in school, there was a time when we can pick up the phone and call.
Correct.
And say they're out, or the stores could not serve them between those hours because they will risk having penalties to their licenses if they serve minors during those hours, because that is what exacerbates truancy if there are no consequences for it. So that's why I was asking about the universal calendar, because we all know our children are all over the city at different hours of the day. And even the community stakeholders, such as myself or OT, we wouldn't know. Like if I see a child, I'm like, now why is that child not in school? And then you pull up and you ask, and they're like, oh, it's a PD day for my school. You're right, but PD days were universal.
That's
we
right.
knew
That's right.
when the kids would be out and when they would be in.
Right.
And again, truancy and delinquency are different. They're different,
Very different
beasts. And so when you have a child 70 days, there should be no child going 70 days without some intervention.
There you go.
Nowhere in the world. 70 days when we only have 177 days in school. 70 is strange when it only takes 7 for you to actually have to repeat the grade.
Yes.
Right? And so for me, I don't understand how schools could allow, or anybody could allow, a child to be missing in action for 70 days before they reach out for some sort of intervention.
And let me be clear that Dr. Avis Williams, Orleans Parish Schools, we understand that there needs to be a change. We are sounding an alarm with bringing this partnership and collaborative citywide to the greater New Orleans area. I think Dr. Williams, Dr. Fulmore,
the assistant superintendent.
Correct, deputy superintendent. We just met last week to really say, how do we work together and how do we partner with CMOs and definitely social workers and principals and even paraprofessionals, but most importantly, parents.
Right.
And so being those advocates and coming, we want to be a part of the community. That means showing up to a car football game. That means showing up to parent
You
night.
could come Friday when Car plays St. Og.
Uh-oh.
That's a big one. You're going to see a lot of parents in there, a lot of students.
And my son, he plays quarterback for Archbishop Shaw, so I can't make that one. But if you give me some dates through the year, I look forward to joining you for some events. And we FINS, Families in Need of Services, is for the community.
Yeah.
We could be based at the YMCA, but we partner in having a legal backing sometimes for kids who may have IEPs or may need support. It really can be a good thing. Give you an example. There was a young man who went on to the University of Kansas Jayhawks. He had attention deficit. The University of Kansas has a program for kids with diagnosis where they actually give them the documentation. They don't have to just get it and just kind of just keep up with the class pace. They're offering some additional services. So we found that those IEPs can really play into supporting them. And so we want to be integrated
Your IEP follows
into the
you.
day. Yeah.
It follows you.
So we want to integrate at that level where we're really in each school, and case managers are dedicated to a school site to work with that data team.
I want to ask a question. History and experience is always the best teacher. Everyone who knows my brother, my late brother Ronaldo, nicknamed Naughty, right? He missed 28 days in a semester, but he would go to school to pass all the tests. So the teacher initially didn't call my parents until they started just seeing just a pattern. He'd come on test day, and then he'd be gone. And then back then, Leonard Carr, who's a policeman who grew up in our neighborhood, it would bring him home. They knew the family. So would he have been truant or delinquent?
I think it's when it becomes intentional in the point.
Now, when my mother got involved, it wasn't neither. But the system didn't really say something until it became so exorbitant.
Right.
That they were like, well, hold on, this kid's passing tests,
right?
But he's not showing up in school.
And so here's what would be really important for as a families in needs, right? A case manager would say, why? What are the underlying issues? Because here's how that young man could work with us. Let's get ready for him after he graduates and what type of certification or 4-year or 2-year program we need to be getting ready for. He is not disengaged. Why is he bored? So I think taking it to the next step of how we partner with Delgado, we have Southern University and Dillard University. We have interns now who are actually meeting with young people to tell them their story. We have the union.
That question because they're kids who are not going to school,
right?
Not because they're not smart.
Right.
But
that's a large majority of them.
Yeah, can't keep them.
They're not connected, and so and so there's a disconnect, and we know at a high proportionate number. That's why we want to participate with the community. Go ahead, Doctor.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Francis. If you went to school and the subject matter was ELE, and you were being taught by somebody that makes sandwiches, how engaged would you be? I'm just asking. Because we like to blame children and we like to blame parents.
Right.
But there is an issue and there's a brokenness in our education system that people do not want to actually talk about. If I want to learn mathematics, I want to learn from a mathematician. I want to learn from somebody with a skill set to be able to engage me enough to not only give me the information, but to teach it to me. Because providing information and teaching information is two totally different things. I don't want Jared, the subway guy, teaching me mathematics or social studies. And this is why our children are not engaged, because the person that's interfacing with them does not have the skill sets to meet whatever need they're actually going to school for. We have to start being honest about the real problems with the system, or we're never going to fix it.
Right.
We keep allowing folk to create a problem, to then create a solution for them to make money on the backs of our children, and our kids still can't read. That's my problem. Most of the time, like Oliver said, our kids are not missing school because they're incompetent or because they're unintelligent. They're missing school because A, they don't even see themselves in there, and they don't even see what you feeding them is worth eating.
Right.
And I'm not talking food.
Right.
Right? There's a lack of care there.
Right.
And you can answer the question, then we're going to call.
And we have some Fried Chicken Fest tickets to give away, Don Francis.
Okay.
So you got to think of something that you want the people to answer. And we're going to throw the question out there.
We're going to ask you
What's the difference?
a question about
Yeah.
mental health, truancy, delinquency.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if someone calls with the answer, now don't make it too
No,
tough.
we'll
You and
yeah.
Dr. Wyatt can make it too clinical, right? We're going to answer the question, then we're going to go to the caller. Then before we go to break, you're going to ask the question for a caller to win
That's
2 tickets.
exciting. Thank you for letting me participate. This is fun.
Yeah.
So, and I love your topic and questions, Doctor. So,
Thank you.
Dr. Wyatt, here's one of the biggest things I've noticed coming back to Orleans Parish is that we want to join with schools, we want to join with community members and organizations to enhance the professional development opportunities for our staff. I think we need to spend more money on it. I've committed a large portion of budget for training. And so we have to develop our talent in our city so they can go on and fulfill these positions. As how powerful is it if I'm able to recruit 50 young African Americans to be mathematicians in the schools? So, and having a summer program that actually focuses on the core subjects, like you said, a universal calendar.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I would like to do and engage that subset of kids.
And you know the black men are mathematical geniuses.
That's right.
Line number 1, John. John, you're on with Don Francis.
Yes, how you doing?
Hey, Don.
Hey, John, we couldn't hear
It's
you.
John.
Hey, John.
I said
John.
good morning.
Hey, John.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you perfect now. Go ahead, John.
Did we lose him?
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, we
Yeah,
lost
yeah,
John.
yeah,
John, call
yeah,
us back.
we lost him. Systems. How should the system treat the delinquent versus the truant?
You know, that's why we have to spend times with the parents and the schools to really get to the underlying issues. Because they'll tell you. I think that's like you said, your brother. You know, that's going to take a lot less time than a kid who is unconnected or disconnected from school, and he's not even invested in the academic part. I believe.
Well, the world today would have treated him like a delinquent. He wasn't no delinquent.
And so that's why case managers have to know the difference. We're going to reject cases if they don't qualify for the 10 grounds of the Louisiana Children's Code.
All right, we're going back to John. Go ahead, John.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning,
Can you guys
bless
hear
you.
me now?
Yeah,
Sorry
we
about
can hear you
that.
good.
Must be a cyber attack. I don't know, man. But are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. A lot of times, boys, and I'm talking about male children, boys' children, whatever, misdiagnosed with like ADHD or behavior disorders, but they're not understanding the biology of male children. At a certain age, testosterone starts kicking in. If you look at the males of other young animals, how physically active they get. You know, they just jump around, they buck around, and then you go back to ancient societies. They knew how to channel that changes that take care in males, that take place in young males. We don't know how to do that in modern societies. So often boys who are labeled that way, no, you need to get them into all male. That's why we need separate schools for boys, where you do academics and physicality. They have to be physical. They have to burn their testosterone off. That's how you keep them in line, because that's the natural aggression that has to be channeled in a positive way. If you don't, it spills out into negative things. But what they figuring is abnormal, it's normal for males. Males and females are different, and we have to understand that in the school. You can't groom boys like you groom girls, because our biologies are different. We are intended for different things, the physical roles, to attack and conquer the environment. So our bodies reacting when those testosterone, those hormones move, and you're sitting there, you can't be still. You have to do something physical until you mature and understand how to channel that.
Thank you, Big John. Thank you.
Yes.
Different treatment for males versus delinquents versus females?
So here's what I'm going to say. I am probably not the best person as far as clinical answers to be so specific. I'll tell you what we've done from a systems perspective to answer this question. What we have done is we've hired a Latina therapist to address our brown young men and women, which we were doing no work. So we're transferring all our documentation into Spanish and English, and we'll continue to add other ethnic backgrounds or culture, so we can have those languages, so we lose that disconnect. Specifically with the gender piece, what we are going after is, let's say a child has grief and loss, as opposed to having just some light anxiety, or he gets nervous. We use Dr. African American male, Dr. Michael Robinson. He's a professor at Tulane University. Our kids get free assessments, and the parents get to make the choice at their panel meeting. Hey, this is something I want to take further, or I don't. And they have that right, and so it is not forced. But what we want to do is make sure if the kid is even given recommendations around their symptoms, to not diagnose, and so we can connect with these clinics and hospitals, and then allow the experts to make those decisions.
Line number 2, Don, all the way from Houston. Don, you're on with Don Francis.
When I was coaching youth sports, we exposed these young people, boys and girls, because the girls were the cheerleader team in football, and basketball, they had girls basketball. Track and field was co-ed. We exposed them to recruiters, military recruiters. We exposed them to teachers, and we exposed them to business owners, entrepreneurs, and they grasped it and they understood because it was real to them. It wasn't an abstract. We're looking at education, the clearinghouse of education. It is an abstract environment. These children, and I'm speaking as being a part of that generation, I learned more from reality. You know, when you listen to these songs, Rick James, you know, when he lived in the ghetto, you know, he saw the pimps and the pushers was the businessmen, the mathematicians. Okay, they knew about triple beams and how to scale out and all that kind of kilograms and all this stuff. The education, and when I went to school, you had distributed education. You went to school half the day, and when you qualified, you worked, went do paid internship or worked, had a job the other half of the day. I think that education has gotten away from, they call it career technical education now. It used to be OTech, and it has a la carte and separated the community from its own reality. A community is best served when it addresses its own realities. We can't compare our community to Beverly Hills or all these other communities. We have to deal with the realities around us and look at the businesses and the business owners and those who apply their trades and crafts in a very mathematical and very measured way that's real and not abstract.
Thank you, Don.
You brought up a great question, sir. I'll try to be pithy and terse. Here's what I would say to that. One of the first things we've done is reached out to NORD-C. Larry Barabino is opening up opportunities. The kids can actually swim between 10 and 2, but Hurricane Katrina used to have programs where the public school kids would go and learn how to swim, get their certification, and then was making money. Well, now I'm actually reopening that, looking for schools to partner with to fill that gap.
Those things that worked that went away, coming back.
Yes.
And Don, too, to the not Don's question or comment, but the caller before him, there is a real issue happening in our school systems where black boys are being dumped into special education services because this is my dissertation. So this is literally like passion work for me because there is a disconnect between the person that's in front of them and them in terms of lived experiences. So the way our black boys speak can come off as disrespectful to somebody who doesn't understand the culture of the community that they come from. I know about a child who was suspended for saying the word baby in response to a teacher because she didn't want to be called baby, but he wasn't calling her baby. He was saying baby the way that a New Orleanian will say baby. So if you're going to come here from anywhere else, USA, you have to understand the culture of this community and not penalize our children for being the fabric of this community and the way they speak. I never cared anything about the way a child spoke to me. I cared that he was speaking to me so that I can understand his issue. Because so often we shut the children down because we don't like the way they're speaking. When the issue is, if I don't hear them out, I will never be able to get to the issue. We could talk about how you're speaking on the back, and I need to know the problem. right?
That's perfect.
Understanding the culture of a community is important. They are dumping our black boys in special education because there's a disconnect between them and the person that is interfacing with them. That is a real issue to the caller's point.
Lines are lit up. We're going to go to break. Larry, please hold. And when we come back, Don's going to answer those questions and a whole lot more, as well as set the table for this Strengthening Mind, Body, and Spirit event. I'm sorry, the Eliminating Truancy event, Friday, October 4th, from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at the LCMC Conference Center, 2000 Canal Street, hosted by Judge Darrensburg and Judge Candace Bates Anderson, along with Don Francis and a whole host of panel. Eliminating Truancy, a new perspective, dismantling the relationship between truancy and delinquency. I'm learning a whole lot from the conversation today. We'll be back after the break. WBOK 1230 a.m.
What New Orleans is talking about.
Whose station?
Our station.
No, it's our station. Back after the break.
September is National Recovery Month and time to celebrate the millions of Americans in recovery. Metropolitan Human Services District wants to remind you that treatment is effective and everyone can recover. If you are looking for a recovery program and you live in the Orleans, St. Bernard, or Plaquemines Parish, visit mhsdla.org or call 504-568-3130. Recovery is possible and MHSD is here to help. Metropolitan Human Services District, where we change lives.
Life moves fast. Get vaccinated against flu and COVID-19 to protect yourself from severe symptoms. Stay healthy and be there for every twist, turn, and adventure. Get started at vaccines.gov. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Get ready to groove and savor the flavor at the 2024 Crescent City Blues and Barbecue Festival, October 11th through the 13th, presented by the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation. Free and open to the public at Lafayette Square Park. Performing Lil Ed and the Blues Imperials, Irma Thomas and the Professionals, Marcia Ball, and more. For more information, visit CrescentCityBluesFest.com. Let the good times roll.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
We are back. We are in studio with Don Francis. Don works he's the director of the Orleans Parish Courts and Formal Families in Need of Services. He's a native to this community, which makes me excited about the work that he's doing on behalf of our children. Don is here talking about the conference that we just found out is sold out. Which is a good thing. That means people want the information. It's sold out. But Mr. Francis is telling me that he will avail himself to any community, any school that wants to interface with him and talk about the issue. So even though the conference is sold out, he is very much available to you should you need his services, Don.
Absolutely. We definitely want to keep the door open to families, parents, grandmothers, kind of like we were, what you talked about, Dr. Wyatt, we were a community first.
Yes.
And in schools and barbershops and parks, that's the goal of bringing everyone together for a holistic approach of supporting children.
Absolutely. And listen, we have a caller. You want to talk to the people?
Sure.
If you want to talk to Don, the line here is 504-582-9422. We're talking all things eliminating truancy, a new perspective, dismantling the relationship between truancy and delinquency. Larry, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Good morning to your OT and your guests.
Good morning.
It being from the same gender as I am. As a kid in elementary school, when you start feeling these feelings that maybe your other caller, John, mentioned testosterone, and whenever that kick in, or they kick in when you're born, it makes you want to be aggressive. Well, the the things about testosterone, the qualities of it, it's being rough, tough. And as a little boy in elementary school, I was a great student, a good student. But after I did the work, I just wanted to go outside and just flip and jump and wrestle. So, they mistake that with black boys as being aggressive. Like, case in point, anybody who played football or plays it know it's a collision sport. And a collision sport means you're going to get pain. Like our two running backs for the Saints. One got a cracked rib, and the other one has another one. And they still get out there and play that rough-ass game. I played it as a kid, but I didn't like the feelings that I had. Everything hurt, even my hair. So I'm saying is, how do we harness that? And being a black male is the difficult because they're trying to make you harness your testosterone, not being aggressive. If we're aggressive, they misunderstand it. So I want the doctor to tell me how that works, because you want you not to be so aggressive, but the testosterone make you aggressive. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. So listen, to Larry's point, boys and girls do develop differently, right? And we understand that. That is why it's incumbent upon us to make certain that we put professionals in front of our children who have been trained in the psychology of things, right? That is why it is dangerous to take people off the street and have them pretend that they're teachers, because teachers carry a certain skill set. And on top of the skill set that we learn in university, right, we have lived experiences as well. I am the mother of a black boy.
That's right.
So I understand from a different lens how to talk to black boys, right? I did my dissertation the way that I did it because working in the school system, I am a special educator. That is what I am, right? 9 out of 10 of the children that I had to govern were black boys. I knew statistically something was wrong with that. So I wanted to investigate it because there is a reason why I have a class of 27 kids and only 2 of them are female. Something is you're not going to tell me that every one of those children were supposed to be in my classroom as a special educator.
Right.
And that is when I realized that special education was being used as a dumping ground, and that is literally what I called it in my dissertation. It is a dumping ground for black boys, specifically because, as the caller said, there are ways that boys act out. And if you don't understand it, if you've never seen it and you don't know how to experience it, then you're going to say that he's a behavior issue or he's a threat of some sort, right? And my problem has always been with the school system, has always been with Teach for America, because there are some good people who come from Teach for America, but my problem has always been that you're not looking for quality folk to interface with our children. You're just looking for bodies. You're just looking for people who are invested in paying off student loans and probably coming to the city and experiencing New Orleans for 2-3 years and then they uproot and leave. There's no true investment in our children. There's no true investment in my city. That is my problem with Teach for America. Because if you go after quality people, because there are quality people putting in applications every day for Teach for America, but they're picking the people who they want to interface with children in underserved communities. Right, you get a little bonus if you go to the underserved,
areas,
the more dangerous in quotation marks areas, right? So you're incentivizing people by painting this picture that we are a lost community already. So then they come to us with this Superwoman and Superman complex.
Right.
We don't need you to put a cape on, baby. We just need you to come prepared to advance our children and not just academically.
Yes.
Holistically. Right?
Absolutely.
That has always been my issue with Teach for America. It's not the system of Teach for America. It's the fact that you dismantled our teaching base and then came in with something that was, by and large, subpar to it.
Right.
That's my problem.
Right.
So when he's talking about these black boys and the way that you're miscalculating their behaviors is because you don't have the proper educational tool behind you or training behind you to say, this is why Don is doing that. Instead of just saying, oh, he's doing that, let me just dump him over here.
Right.
What do you say to that?
Well, So remember, I've been doing my homework since April, right? And so I'm learning. And
Mhm.
so to one of the callers, he said earlier about lived experience, and we call that experiential learning,
Yes.
right? And so, which is one of the most powerful tools, but it may take time for us to get there. So what we have done and what I'm working on. Shout out to Brothers Empowered to Teach, Dr. Lisa Green Derry, who works with young men, African-American young men, trying to bring them into the field of education. And so they actually go through a program. Shout out to Dr. Marquis Phillips with the honorary program over at Southern University in New Orleans. These are people who I'm looking forward to reaching out to. We've had conversation. It's those follow-ups, and I wish they was here with us because we got a lot of road work to do to bring together to address those issues as the African-American male in our New Orleans city.
The number here is 504-582-9422. The next caller will win some tickets to the Fried Chicken Fest. So if you're the next caller, 504-582-9422, you will get your hands on 2 tickets to the Fried Chicken Fest. So, Don, there's a comment here that says, please address the need to monitor even those qualified people who intentionally misdiagnose to fulfill their personal agenda.
Absolutely. And so that's what our role of families in needs, right? It's not just to advocate on behalf of the school. It's really to advocate on behalf of the family and the child. And so we do have a lot of kids who are misdiagnosed. That's all over the country, or over-diagnosed with attention deficit.
Absolutely.
Where there really is something around anxiety, I really understand.
Unaddressed trauma.
Sure.
These kids watch murders every other day in their community, and then they're tasked with getting up in the morning and going to school. How do you focus?
I saw my first man die at 12 years old in the St. Bernard Project. And I didn't realize until I went to college
that you were traumatized,
that this was something that I needed to address. And then it took me a few years because of the stigmatization of African-American men receiving counseling. So I was afraid to tell my story. Now I know that recreating your own narrative is most important.
Absolutely. And then our kids get to benefit from seeing you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are part of this community. You've gone on to do great things. And I think that's also important to put people in front of our children who can be an exemplar for what their lives can be, because it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to stay where you started.
Absolutely.
Right? You don't have to live in trauma your entire life. You don't have to live fighting certain things your entire life. There is a better way. I'm learning that myself, actually. And we have a caller on line 1. Good morning, Piper. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Doing well, family. I have a couple of comments on a couple of things that came up with phone calls in your discussion. One, and I think John was the first caller who mentioned the boys. So I have a grandson when he lives in Colorado, in grade school per day. So that, and this is like I think they may have had 5 or 6 kids in the entire school, but they realized then, let the kid, give them a lesson, they absorb that, go burn up some stuff so they can come back and get ready for that next lesson. So and that was standard process just for now the university, what you guys mentioned.
You're breaking up really, really bad, Piper. We appreciate the call, and you also won yourself some tickets to the Fried Chicken Fest. So if you want to hold on, and Nara will get your information. But thank you for your call. Good morning, Albert. How are you? Albert, are you still there? Albert is like, you gave him tickets away already. I don't have nothing to say to you. So look, you got a minute left, Don.
Sure.
You want to what information do you want to leave with the people? We do know that the Eliminating Truancy Conference is sold out.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But how do people reach you should they need any services from the Director of the Family and Needs of Services over at Orleans Parish?
We just look forward to embracing our families in the city of New Orleans. The doors are open. I know it sounds really odd to say, hey, I don't want to come to a courthouse. That's okay. You can give the courts a call or families in need a call, and you all can actually set up an appointment. You can get a tour of the building and see the real work going on, and I will meet with you personally. And we have staff as well and Dillard University partnerships, as well as SUNO, Southern University, and trying to get Xavier on board. We have people that we want to connect our young people to that are doing positive things.
Well, thank you, Don, for being here. And I also want to thank the Hoffman Triangle Neighborhood Outreach Committee, that is Reverend Kenneth Thompson, the pastor over at Pleasant Zion Missionary Baptist Church, and Gail Glapion. There's an event October 5th, Strengthening Mind, Body, and Spirit from 11 to 4 at 3317 Toledano Street. And I also want to thank you for spending your time with us,
Thank you.
teaching us, helping us learn more about truancy and delinquency and all of the holistic services that you guys offer to keep our children not only in school, but thriving in the community as well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt.
This is WBOK 1230 AM. I am Shanta, a Dr. Shanta Wyatt. Look, I'm saying Shanta like I'm in a neighborhood with the people on the stoop. Look, up next is Graylin and Kimball with The Front Porch, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
Have you heard the secret of what New Orleans is talking about? I promise everything will be okay if you're listening here on the airwaves. It's that WBOK 1230 AM.
From the campus of Xavier University. WBOK 1230 AM. Go. An Equity Media Station.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Arraignment for the man suspected of plotting to assassinate former President Trump at his golf course is expected today. A Secret Service agent reportedly spotted Ryan Ruth hiding in the bushes with a rifle at Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. Houston, Texas attorney Tony Busby says his firm is representing more than